And welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, October the 18th, 2014. This is Season 8, Episode 42. I am Scott.
I'm James.
I'm RJ.
I'm Nathan.
And welcome to the show. Dennis is not with us tonight. Somebody else is in his place. That is not Dennis. But we will talk with him in just a moment. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228. Check out ingamechat.net for all the links to get in touch with us. You can find us on Twitter at InGameChat as well as on Facebook. You can email us, everyone at ingamechat.net. We're streaming the cam feed right now. Check out Twitch. Go to twitch.tv. Look for in-game. Just search for In-Game Chat, and you'll find us there. You can join in the chat room live while we broadcast. So welcome, everyone, to the show. The new face you might see is our guest for tonight. Normally we do our interviews around the second hour. The one I refer to as the 8 o'clock hour, but it's actually the 7. But yeah, normally we do it in the second hour. However, I don't think we've ever had a local guest in the studio before, so you're brand new. Move that microphone a little bit closer to you, or you move closer to it. Okay. Either way. Okay. And this is Leonard Wayland.
Right.
And
or chat said not Dennis, so I could go by not Dennis.
Yeah, not Dennis. And he is he heard our show how long ago? When?
Oh,
do you remember what we were? You caught the end of the show. Do you remember what we were talking about?
Shoot, I want to say. Oh man, I want to say the first time I listened to your guys' show was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I'm thinking.
Wow.
I mean, it was a while back and all that. And I always catch. It always seems like my.
Well,
luck
if you
is,
listen to it on this station, then
yeah.
it was because we've only been here for about a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we're gonna go with a year and a half ago.
Oh wow.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but no, the first time I heard you guys, it's always my luck to always catch you guys like at the last 5 minutes.
We get a lot of people who join the chat room and like it's already over, and so yeah, so we have that happen. Yeah. From time to time, but we're glad you heard us, because had you not, you wouldn't be here today, because we're here talking about the Extra Life campaign.
Right.
And I did not know that there was anything local that was going on with Extra Life. I honestly didn't. The last year when you did it, I didn't know anything about it, and then this year, had you not brought it to our attention, I would have completely missed it as well. So just tell us what's going on. You've got something going on next weekend, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
Extra Life is...
Oh, sorry. My bad, man. I'm nervous. I know the people on Twitch are seeing this where I'm like just shaking here and all that, and the people listening on the radio are probably like, man, that guy sounds super nervous and scared.
As long as you don't like swear, we're good, man.
I tried.
Calling me sir is fine, as long as you didn't call me, whatever for brains. But yes. So you've got something going on next weekend. It's here local, so everybody who's listening on Twitch who might be far away, you should probably check around your area to see if somebody is doing something. I mean, next weekend is the big weekend for the whole Extra Life thing, right?
Right.
And you're doing something here in town, Prattville, basically, that you're going to be doing. So tell us all about it.
Okay. I got notes and all that stuff because I can't really remember everything. So
you are nervous, aren't you?
Yeah, just shaking over here. What Extra Life is a yearly event where gamers just come together to help out their local children's miracle networks. Originally started back in I think 2008 in honor of a little girl named Victoria, and I always mess up on her last name, Inman.
I know the feeling.
And all that. A really good girl. If you go to like extra-life.org, you can see her story and all that, and I can see why they decided to do this event for her and in memory of her. But our local event, really basic idea, donate anything, hang out, play video games. That's it. Nothing really big to it or anything like that.
There's no certain dollar amount you have to donate, just anything you can.
Nope, not at all. Because the way I look at it is like a penny equals a miracle. All those pennies add up, and it really helps out those hospitals. And that's the other thing about donating on Extra Life, their website, is you can donate as small amount as a penny and all that for somebody to help them out. And I just look at it as an opportunity for us gamers to really show what we're about and show how we can help out the community and how we can come together to, change some kids' lives, help out some families and all that. So, oh shoot, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I'm still nervous.
It's all right, man.
Breathe in.
First off, you shouldn't be. We're not a show to be nervous about. Secondly, just tell us. All right, so you got involved with the Atlanta Guild, I guess, is what it is.
Yes, sir.
Because
Sorry, man.
No. It's fine. It's me, not you.
Yeah.
So you got involved with the Atlanta Guild basically because there's not enough people doing it here in our area to form their own guild, correct?
Right.
Like that includes Birmingham, big city like Birmingham, and
Right.
stuff like that,
Yeah.
which we should change for
Right.
next year, and I hope that we do.
Well, that's the other thing I'm hoping, like, because of me being on your guys' show and, because of Twitch, I'm just hoping, your listeners and viewers, they see some guy like me who, a big goofball, he's able to organize an event. I can play video games for 24 hours. I can play video games for a couple hours, and I can sign up at Extra Life and, get more people to sign up and get more people involved, because I would love to see our state just next year just dominate and have everybody we possibly can gamer wise be a part of this.
Yeah, we were pretty proud of ourselves a couple of years ago. I say a couple of years ago. Again, that whole reference of time is very strange. 2009, I think, was when we set up our Child's Play Drive.
Yeah, we did pretty well through that.
Did very well through. I was very impressed with how well we did through that, and so this is something that I would like to be involved with, and I think next year we will. I'll have to talk to the powers that be about how you could go about doing a 24-hour live broadcast and see how we could do that. But do want to be involved for this next year. But this year, it is next weekend. It is downtown Prattville, if I'm correct.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be, sorry for interrupting.
No, go ahead.
It's going
where's
to
it
be at downtown Prattville at Quality Comics.
So you get a comic shop and video games.
Right, exactly. And the thing
really
that
good.
I got really excited about is the owner, Brent. He decided that's going to be free comic book day because they get a quarterly, So not only we're going to have free
Nice.
comic books, but a donation of like a penny. Get to hang out, play video games. So you get free comic books and play video games and hang out with a bunch of other gamers. I'm thinking it's going to be awesome.
How do you have the games? How do you have the setup for the video games? How does that work?
Well, luckily for me, I've had a lot of great friends and a lot of great volunteers that are helping out our event. So we're going to have, I want to say, if my numbers are right, we're going to have 6 to 8 TVs set up. We're going to have 8 to 10 different video game system setups. We're going to try to stay in the area of ESRB ratings from teen to E for everybody, and just hang out. That's it. Play a little bit of video games, go try something else. What I'm happy about most is we're going to have like Super NES set up. We're going to have some of those old school games set up for people to enjoy, but also we're going to have those next gen games set up for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 as well. So.
Now, one of the people involved in this is Retro Game Planet,
Right.
which has been on our show a few times and has even run some spots during our show a few times. I hear that he's got a actual stand-up Mortal Kombat system at the shop now.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if they're going to bring that over.
I don't
truck
think,
that over to Quality Comics.
I don't think he's going to truck that over, but he's definitely helping out a lot. And all
Was that one rated E?
No,
That was
No,
not.
no,
that
that-
was not an E.
No, it was
That-
not.
that's
I forget sometimes. Like
That's a good point.
No, that's the game that made the SRB system. You know what I'm saying? That's right. I mean,
then as an historical artifact and a
Yeah.
point of comparison to the types
True.
of things that we're really
Yeah.
talking about these days, maybe it's actually useful. But maybe that's a thing for later.
So you're going to have that many games set up, and you're going to have different systems and everything else, all
Yeah.
that hooked up.
And I think we've definitely grown from our first time we did this event. We did our first event back in 2010 at Bama Lanes. That's where our original goal for our fundraising was like, we're going to raise $100. My idea was really take my home entertainment system and my TV and my stand and just sit in front of Bama Lanes and just sit there and with a bucket and be like, hey, you want to hang out with me?
That's grassroots, man. Good job.
Yeah. We had 3 TVs, maybe 6 volunteers, 7 volunteers, and we ended up raising $3,000. So this time around, being on your guys' show and other shows and just getting more of the community involved in it, I'm hoping we like blow that number out of the water, because I think so far this year for our state we've raised $6,892. So that's all the Extra Lifers signed up this in our state, and our little group so far we're at $777. So I'm like just hoping to build it up and get it a little bit higher and help out some kids.
That'd be great, man. That's I love the cause. I love what it does. It's for the Children's Miracle Network, correct?
Right. Yeah, 110% all proceeds go to help out those hospitals, help out those kids, get them better. Our state alone, some facts about our state, they have one of the largest burn units in the South. I can't even say that name because that's too big for me, but it's a medical term. I think rhythmic heart conditions for kids, little preemies and all that stuff. So the way I look at it is just it definitely makes miracles happen. It lets these kids get back to what they're doing, living a life, playing video games, getting out of those hospitals, and that's,
I've seen the benefits of what Child's Play does, which also benefits the children's. Is it Children's Miracle Network for Child's Play?
I believe they donate video game systems to those hospitals and all that stuff. So I know they do that, and I know. What was it? 2 months ago, St. Jude's had their own 24-hour video game marathon thing going on, and yeah, definitely, a lot of organizations that people can sign up for and be a part of to help out these kids and get them better.
No, it's always a great thing. Now, next weekend, it's going on between what times?
For our event, nationwide event, right? The big
it's a 24-hour thing.
Yeah, the 24-hour thing. I've already got my 12 hours in, so I'm good on that. I've already did my 24 hours, I think. That starts at Saturday, October 25th at 8 a.m. That's whatever your local time is, so if your Twitch listeners sign up. But our local Prattville, Alabama thing starts at Quality Comics at 11 a.m. and goes on until 5. So, but the plan is if we still have gamers playing and still have people donating after 5, we're going to probably keep on going.
Just keep it going until it's done, yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing is, too, we're going to have raffle drawings, too, for some great prizes. Speaking of Quality Comics, they're doing a $100 store credit to their store.
Nice.
Retro Game Planet's doing a $100 store credit to their store. So
I know one game that I could probably use. The $100 on one of their games.
I could use it on credit towards
one of their
games that I want.
Exactly. And just to brag on those guys real quick.
Go right ahead. Rustin and the guys there are great guys. They really are.
Brent at Quality Comics, when I was talking to him about this event, I just went in there and I was like, hey, I would like to do an event for Children's Miracle Network. And he was like, yes, we'll do it. We'll help whatever we can. And then I told him, we're going to play video games here. Is that cool? And he was still all on board and ready for it. And that was same with Rustin and all that. When I went and talked to him and I was like, dude, I really want you guys to be a part of this. Same thing. He was like, hey, you got us, man. No problem. Whatever you need from our store, you got it. We'll try to do our best for you. And I just got to really give those guys props for...
Really? You hook up one of those... the Retron 5s or whatever. You've got a couple of different systems on one TV
that
you can go and play through. So that's fantastic. Well, this is it's a great cause. And again, those of you who are not in the area, check your local area to see if this is going on where you are or close to where you are. And if they want to find out more, where can they go?
Just go to extra-life.org to find out any information about them, their local area. Like I said, I'm hoping, local people listening to me, and even like you said, your Twitch users and all that, they just go there and they sign up, because one or two more people signing up is going to help out a lot of kids and a lot of people. And I look at it like this too. This gives you a week to do family game night. Extra Life is not about just playing video games for 24 hours. It's about playing video games, playing board games, playing card games, play Monopoly. Well, don't play Monopoly because you might lose friends, but play Magic the Gathering.
There's a couple of video games you could lose that on as well.
Just that's the biggest thing. Just go there and sign up.
Play games, help kids. That's their motto.
Yeah, exactly.
And however that relates to how you play your games, board games, card games, anything like that, video games, however it is, you do it and you help kids, and it's a great cause. We really appreciate you coming on the show, and we appreciate you doing this. It's a big deal to do, and it's the fact that you started last year just sitting outside of a store wanting people to come out. You come a long way, and we hope you go further with it, and we hope to help you out next year in doing that.
Like I said, you guys have helped out a lot, in my opinion. Just letting me be on here and chit-chat and all that. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thanks so much for coming by. It was great having you. We are going to take our first break, and then when we come back, we are going to jump into the show more and talk about games we've been playing, talk about news. We'll take your phone calls, 334-272-9228. We'll be back with more of In-Game Chat in just a moment. And welcome back to In-Game Chats. We didn't get to go around the room, see what people have been playing and what they've been doing. I have been playing... Let's see, I'm still doing Destiny. Not near as much as I used to, but I am still doing Destiny. I finally did the raid last night. Went through it. Have you done the raid yet at all?
No, I saw you doing that last night.
Yeah, I finally went through the raid. A couple of guys from COG picked me up and said, we're going to go do the raid, but we're going to do it on hard mode. You want to come with us? I was like, I've never done the raid before. He was like, well, you're in for a fun time. So come with us. And so I went back and I looked on the app there. I died like 15 times on hard mode, and we never finished it.
How far did you get?
Well, the first section to open the Vault of Glass, obviously, you get in there. Mm-hmm. And then you have to fight the... what is he called? I don't know. It's the one with the oracles and everything in that section.
Yeah.
We never even made it to the oracle part.
Oh, okay.
So it was early. It was very early. Because in hard mode, somebody on your team dies, they cannot be revived. Mm-hmm. So we did hard mode, and then some people had to leave. So the guys who were left said, let's find some other people to pop in. We'll do it on normal mode. And so we went through the entire thing on normal mode.
What was everyone's level?
No one was under 28. So we had a 30 up there, and we had a bunch of 29s.
So you were pretty geared.
And then 28. Yeah, and it went fine.
Yeah.
People who know what they're doing, people who communicate, it went exceptionally well.
Yeah.
So, but I got I got a raid weapon, but I also got raid boots. So now I'm leveling those up.
Nice.
My biggest thought was, if I do the raid, am I still going to be playing Destiny afterwards? Because it's like the last thing that I have to do in it. And so far, that answer is yes. I got those boots. I want to level those boots up, and then obviously reach level 30, which is the highest you can get. You can only run the raid once a week. So next week, when I run it again, if my drops are nothing, that I can use to level up with, I'll probably be done for the week until it resets, and then that'll be the only thing I'll need to do, because there's nothing else I can do.
So you guys completed the raid on normal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we completed the raid on normal.
How long did that take?
It was less than 2 hours, much less than 2 hours. I would say less than 90 minutes. Really, I mean, it went fast.
That's not bad.
It went faster than what I thought, because I knew when the boss came out, I was like, wow, we're already here. But I thought, okay, well, this one's going to take a long time to do, and no, it didn't take long at all. So,
so me being at 27 on normal mode, would I still be okay?
I think you could. I think you can handle yourself. If everybody else, if you were with the team I was with last night, I think you'd be fine. I really think you'd be fine.
Yeah, it's called being carried.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's literally exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I also, there's the fact that there's even a question that you'd be okay at 27, not that you're asking the question, but there should be a question, is sort of silly and ridiculous. The raid itself tells you when you can get in.
Yeah.
Level 26. You can't get in at 25, you can get in at 26. 26 is where you should be as a minimum to be able to do it. I found that interesting, though, just over the last couple of weeks, perusing what people have to say about, when they're doing the looking for group stuff, when they're asking for like one or two other people to hop in. This happens in everything that is even remotely an MMO, always under all circumstances, right? Whatever the minimum is, whatever the designers have created as the minimum and set as that threshold, the community just can't tolerate that, because nobody wants their time wasted. And given a little more time in the game, nobody wants their time even mildly strained. And nobody really wants to actually have to work too hard for anything, despite all of the claims of hard work being super important to a rating game or a skill-based type of game. They don't want that. Nobody really wants to do that. So the minimum effort, or rather the minimum level that people will require, starts getting higher and higher and higher and higher.
28's and only 28's
yeah,
and above.
28's and above for normal mode.
Right.
Well, okay, sure.
Let me ask you this: do the enemies level up? Do you see the level of the enemies when you play Destiny?
Yes.
Okay, and when you're in a raid, does the if you're in a room with a bunch of 30s and 29s and various ones,
As far as the players,
the players themselves,
yeah.
do the enemies match? They don't.
No, they stay at 26.
They stay at 26
Yeah.
regardless. Okay.
Yeah.
Because what you were saying, James, about the lack of effort. Sometimes one of the hardest things is where you have someone like a level 30 or something, for an example, level 30, and all the enemies match the one with the highest level in there, and everybody else going to have to play a mean game of catch up because they're nowhere
Right.
near the same level.
Yeah, in a lot of MMO style games, there isn't an awful lot of level matching because you're having large groups of people. You couldn't really do that fairly. You can't level match to the lowest level person if there's a range of levels appropriate to it. In something like World of Warcraft, everybody's going to be the maximum character level. The only differentiator is going to be the average item level of their gear, right? Like each piece, and it's similar to the way Destiny does it, has a specific level on it, and that averages out to create an overall item level for your character, which is a general indicator of the strength of your skills and spells. Not an indicator of how good you are as a player, but an indicator of how much damage you are likely to do, how much damage you can absorb, and how much healing you can put out for the other people.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, a lot of these people haven't had to sit through difficult times, but it's very interesting to watch people decide that, can we just, I'm not saying I like to cheese content, but can we please have a little cheese to this content? Can we just make it a little bit easier, but make sure everybody's a little bit higher, so we don't have to work against the tedium of people putting in more physical effort to make up for the lack of innate power in their gear.
Yeah. Well, it was, again, I'd never run the raid before, so the communication was very good. They would tell us what, here's how the next step is going to happen. Scott, we're going to put you over here. It's the best place for you since you've never run this. Just stick with this one guy. I stuck with Gerbs. He's like, just follow him. Make sure you're there. And at times, because there would be, people that would die, they would say, okay, we need you to go to the right and stand where he just died and help that guy out. I was kind of a floater in that regard because everybody had their little positions, but they would tell me what to do. And like I said, just the communication was very, very good and very, very necessary so that I knew what was going on, because there's a lot of that stuff, especially when you go through the maze, because there's a maze you have to go through, and then at the very end there's some strange stuff that happens as far as being portaled to a different location that has to go on, and it's very confusing. So, but yeah, I liked it.
It's so cute,
isn't
dude.
it? It's
Your
my first one. It's my
raid.
first one.
Oh, it's
You
so
know what's sad is
adorable.
The more you talk about it, it makes me want to raid in WoW now.
I know,
It's
but
I could go do this in WoW.
I'm really trying very hard. No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
Not to sort of belittle the concept of raiding in Destiny. I've watched the streams. I've watched the videos. I think they've done absolutely the best thing they can do in an FPS with no real classes. Right? There's 3 classes, but it's not real. There's not really strict roles based on class. It's not the same thing, and I'm really not trying to say anything negative about what they've built there, right? As a concept, from what I can tell, they have done as well as you can using simple FPS mechanics. They are to be commended for that. They are to be criticized for the fact that those mechanics are not employed anywhere near as well in any of the rest of the parts of the game. That's neither here nor there. What I find interesting and amusing is your very personal experience doing this raid. It's 6 people.
Yeah. You've done 40 people.
Yeah.
I know.
And that was weird, brain things happening the first time you try to put together what people are doing.
Yeah.
So I understand your experience as it relates to any other experience you've ever had. I'm sure it was really good. My understanding is it's the very best that game has to offer. I believe it. I totally buy into it. It's not even remotely my complaint. I have no problems with the raid whatsoever. I just think it is beyond amusing. The way you're it's complexity, man, and stuff happens, and it's so much crazy stuff, and it's yeah, I know, dude, I know. That's why I've been playing the things I've been playing for the last 15 years, because that complexity is inherent. It's beyond cooperative gameplay, right? When we do those early missions, when we do the basic strikes, right? That's just co-op gameplay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not very different at all from any other type of co-op shooter. It's okay, the strategy is you shoot that guy in the head, And then when these guys come over here, I'm going to shoot them in the head.
Right.
And that's the strategy. You get into the actual raid, though, and it starts to evolve to that next level, that next evolution of what co-op gameplay can be, why people do what they do in raids. I know you're just playing against the AI. I know that it's something that becomes predictable and can be managed, and somebody can take you and say, stand right here and do this exact thing, and you're going to see this, and it's going to happen at this time. And then you do this thing, and it'll be great, and we'll win. And you don't have to try terribly hard because somebody else is already, you're standing on somebody else's shoulders.
Yeah.
Right? We've all done that when we raid.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
But it is that next iteration of complexity. Like, there are complex mechanics there that you don't find in your normal slap together fly-by-night co-op type of gameplay. It's much more exciting and much more fun for that reason.
Yeah.
I like it an awful lot. I'm glad that you have found something that tickles your fancy in that same way.
Yeah. But it'll be the only thing that maybe keeps me coming back. It's a sense of really not having anything to do once you've hit that
Yeah.
top
Again,
part.
yet again, welcome to raiding.
Right.
Welcome to raiding. You've gotten... It's very, very important to have progression in place for a game that has progression of any kind. Because as soon as your people take that last gasp of air, as soon as they fill themselves up with that last bit of content, they get that last bit of gear, and they complete their thing, like whether you believe it or not. 1 minute you're going to be lying to yourself, telling yourself you're just there for the experience, you're just there for the good time, it's all about the people, it's all about the memories. But the minute you hit level 30 and fill in that last piece of gear, you're going to be done with it.
Yeah.
You're going to drop it. And you just have to be honest with yourself that that's actually what's happening. If you don't have boxes to tick, if you don't have things to cross off, if you don't have something to fill in, some goal to be achieving.
And I will say this too. I'm not an alt guy. I rarely, if ever,
Yeah, I
make
don't.
alts.
Same here.
I know.
Yeah.
You really don't.
I don't.
Well,
I don't.
It just makes me think of the moment with the South Park episode with World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
The whole time they were playing the game the whole time, and then they finally killed the guy, and they're just standing there. Well, now what?
Yeah. You log out. You go to something else until they release the expansion
Exactly.
back.
So outside of Destiny, I have also tried to play Vanishing of Ethan Carter. That's a beautiful game. That's a really pretty game. However, the one problem I had with it was that I was playing couch mode, sitting at the couch watching that. Parts of that game will read text to you, and then parts of it, like newspaper clippings, will not read the text to you. And it's very hard to see when you're sitting at the couch away from there. Monitor probably works fine. Haven't gone back to it, but so just a tiny bit of that I've played. And what else? Shadow of Mordor. Played some more of that. That's what I've been doing. Shadow of Mordor I've enjoyed. If I could ever get on track to actually play the missions instead of just walking around killing some of the people in the Nemesis system or whatever.
Same here.
Which is a huge distraction. Which, going over to you, Nate, what has been on your list as of late?
I did the Destiny last night. I just did the Nightfall. That was pretty
Okay,
fun.
yeah.
A couple people. I've actually been playing. Last week we were talking about the Warcraft series. Doing that whole lore, and you and Dennis were talking about playing Ice Crown and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so I had a friend who has all of them, and so I've been playing on his.
Oh, okay.
Which I had, but the one game I kind of had to download because you needed a MDOS emulator or whatever.
Mhm.
Just because it's
For which one? For
the very first one.
For the very first, yeah.
Because it's 94, so you have to.
They really should pull. I don't know. They really should pull something funny and just like
In
give
HD.
away, somewhat. Not rebuild. I mean, if they could take that kind of work on to rebuild 1 and 2 and maybe even 3.
I don't know.
and
I
remake
popped
them.
in 3 just for a second, and I was like, "Wow, this game looks really good."
Yeah, it still looks really
and
good.
I'm gonna apologize right now. I have a cold right now, so I sound bad.
It's fine.
But yeah,
It's still really, really good. I really think they should just make 1 and 2 run better natively.
Yeah.
And Windows released that on the store in the launcher. You know, they've already got all that put together. I've heard some rumors that they may be doing that, but
Well,
I think it's just wishful thinking more than real rumors.
Yeah. But I've been putting a few hours into that. That's pretty fun, just because I love that lore.
Right.
Having years
Not
into
that the
game.
world much resembles what they laid down in
No.
1 and 2 anymore. It's a direct follow-on from 3. It is an actual perfect
makes more
follow-on
sense.
from 3. Yeah. 3 is really the proper prequel to.
I mean, 1994
WoW.
to 2004 is
Yeah,
a 10-year gap.
it's a 10-year gap, and then 4 to 14, another
Yeah.
10. God,
Wow.
that's an exceptional amount of time for one game series.
Yeah. One company.
Mhm.
Nowadays. But then I've also been playing a little bit of Shadow. But the same thing's been happening to me. I'll be like, okay, I need to get
How far are you into it?
like 6 missions.
I mean,
6 or
I'm not
7
even
missions.
that, man.
But it's happened to me quite a few times. I'll be like, all right, I'm going to go do this mission. Oh, here's the guy. Oh, now he's fighting me. He's fighting me. It's like 10 minutes later. And I kind of don't feel like doing this mission because I just had like a 10-minute battle fighting all these guys. But yeah, so.
RJ, where are you at?
Played a little bit of Virtua Fighter this past week, but I was able to get hold of one of the games I was interested in. I got hold of Borderlands, the pre-sequel,
Oh, okay.
and I started playing that.
Did
a
you
little
buy
bit of
that? Did you go out and rent it? What'd you do?
I tried to rent Evil Within, but I did buy Borderlands.
Okay.
Because of,
You're a big fan of Borderlands, though.
yeah, but a big fan of that. Some friends of mine was going to get into it, so I went ahead and picked up my copy. Spent a couple hours with that. It's the feeling I get from it really is it's still Borderlands. It's Borderlands, more the same, just with different characters, different elements, more things added, new mechanics to add, like since you're in zero gravity, air jumping and a butt stomp. That's what they call it, really.
A butt stomp.
Yeah,
do you stomp with your butt, or do you
I don't know.
stomp
I
butts?
don't know. I don't see my character, so I don't know. But you land with something on the ground when you come out the air after a big jump. But it hurts when you land. That's what really matters.
Okay.
So, but that's what they call it. New characters to play with. I've used the one character, Wilhelm. And if anyone who played Borderlands 2, it's the large cyborg that who was working for Handsome Jack during that one. Before he became that big monstrosity, you see him as a normal guy with cybernetic implants over on. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how he got from human to that monster from 2. You also have the 3 other characters you pick from is Athena, who I believe is from Borderlands 1, the DLC, the General Knox, Armory of General Knox DLC. I had to look back and remember who she was because I completely forgot about her. Nisha, the Lawbringer, the Sheriff of Nottingwood from Borderlands 2, and Claptrap is the 4th character. Trying to see what the abilities of them are. I know Wilhelm's pulls out 2 surveyors from Borderlands 2. The one attacks and one heals him. Level it up enough, you'll probably be able to help your teammates and yourself as well. Trying to think what the others do. The Lawbringer, Nisha, does, I think she has some type of dual wielding mechanic, kind of like the Gunzerker did in 2. Claptraps, it's like something .exe, some type of program he does. I don't know what it does, probably something random, but they call him a mistake, so I don't know, it's probably some joke ability or whatever, but I haven't had a chance to play much with it yet. It's typical feeling is that I'm going to enjoy it a lot more with friends than solo. I'm running solo now, but after I get used to everything, I probably get some
I was in the same boat for
playing.
Borderlands. I was so excited to play Borderlands 2. I really was. Got it on PC and was ready to go for it, and could never get anybody to play with me.
On
They
PC.
were, they're either their room was full,
Yeah.
or they were just doing solo stuff and didn't want to play. There was a way you could set like people to join in.
Yeah.
Either you'd be private or people could join in on your party or something like that.
Yeah.
There was also the point of they were out leveled over me, and it didn't work out very well either to
Yeah.
be under level and go in with somebody who was much higher
Yeah,
level.
because
than you.
that's why I was mentioning earlier about matching levels, because I was remember playing with someone just came in to our game. Me and 2 other folks was there, and we had a spot open, and we didn't close it off. So someone just came into our game, and this person was like 15 levels higher than us. So the enemies matched that.
Yeah.
So here we are at level like 33, And then now we're dealing with the enemy at level 50, and they
Yeah.
got that little skull
Like-
next to their name, but we can't handle that. So we
Exactly.
Have to get 'em out of
There
there.
was nothing I could do. Like I jumped into a few that were like that, and I was getting nothing out of that for
Right,
me. Like
right.
I wasn't making the kills, but I was on the team, so maybe I could get some of the loot. But there was nothing. It was
No.
all. It was. You got nothing out of it.
The loot, yeah, everything was geared for the highest level person in the room. So,
Yeah.
what was the point to it? So we had to get them out of there and start playing that way.
Yeah.
hmm But I'm having right now. I'm having fun with it since Ban of Borderlands, so I'm having fun with it. Just trying to see what everyone does, get a feeling for it, and see where we go from there.
Well, Leonard, you're still here and in front of a mic, so I'm going to ask you. Don't
It's
get
cool.
nervous.
No.
Well, what was the? Have you played anything recently?
You guys are playing all these new games that are coming out. I'm ashamed of myself.
No, not at all.
I game with my kids, so I've been rocking like Lego Marvel. It was on sale on Steam a couple of weeks ago and all that stuff, so I made sure I bought it.
Uh-huh.
And me and my son have been rocking that. I'm probably the person putting in the most hours into that game, but I love just hanging out with him and playing video games. And what was else we got recently? Scribblenauts. We got DC Scribblenauts.
Okay.
And all that. So, and again, it's probably another game that I got for my son.
Right, yeah. Got it for him.
Yeah,
Sure.
I got it for him, but no, just rocking those kind of games right there and all that stuff.
The Lego games are fun. I've played those.
Oh yeah, man. No, that's another thing about like our group.
I haven't played the last Lego game I played. I think was Lego Indiana Jones. Was the last one that I played. I started with Star Wars and then I got Indiana Jones and didn't do anything. The Harry Potter series came out and I wasn't interested. Lord of the Rings series came out. I wasn't interested. However, Marvel has come out. Lego Batman, that sort of stuff. Yes, I am interested.
Yeah.
So
That's the last one I played.
I picked both of those up actually off of a Steam sale. Have I played them? No, but I have them for that day that whenever I get around to it.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's the reason why I feel bad. You guys got all these sweet AAA titles and all that stuff, and I'm like, I'm over here playing indie games on Steam.
I don't know.
and all that.
Warcraft is 94.
And every now and then I dust off my Dreamcast and start playing Ghost games as well.
Yeah, I gotta say I've been practicing some Mario Kart on the Super NES recently too. So I've been trying.
tournaments and stuff like that. I know Rustin has at Retro Game Planet. So.
Yeah, that's one of them games you can't play at your event. That'll cost you friendships.
Oh
Mario
yeah,
Kart
yeah,
will.
definitely, and all that stuff.
Smash Brothers, you can have Smash Brothers there. I would think so.
I
No.
think so. I think somebody's gonna have that
Yeah.
there, but
Yeah,
again,
that'll cost
like,
friendships, too.
Yeah, it costs friendships and all that stuff.
I've got Super Puzzle Fighter Turbo. I should.
Now that one costs marriages.
I should bring that one. I should bring that one. James, over to you. What's been on your list lately? Absolutely nothing.
Destiny.
No, he's done with Destiny.
Yeah, I'm done with Destiny.
Yeah.
I'm entirely done with Destiny. Playing some whatever Iron Horde invasion, whatever that nonsense is that Blizzard put together and tried to pass off as a pre-expansion event. It's pretty lame, pretty stupid. It really is. It's horrible. They're the richest, laziest people in the world. Cannot be bothered to actually put something of any interest together for their. I mean, look, I get it. They're nearly broke, and they basically don't have anybody working for them anymore, right? Of course, Blizzard can't afford to do something more interesting than just put together some garbage event. But it's been really, really bad, and I've been. Everybody has been having a very hard time adjusting to the. We talked about this last week. I tried to explain to you how the pre-patch works. Or the pre-expansion patch rather works for World of Warcraft, and this has been a wonderful example of how it can go very, 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 very wrong, because one of the many things that happens when they test, they got the beta out there, right? They've been testing the beta for months and months and months and months, and the beta contains all of these changes to the entire game world, level 1 to 100. And everything that will eventually wind up on the live servers. Then they have the PTR, the public test realm, which is something kind of in between beta and the live servers. It is the next patch, the next major change to the game is available for public testing. And the idea is to see exactly how these changes are going to affect a large number of people. That's why it's open to anybody who has a subscription. But wouldn't you know it, players don't really want to be unpaid beta testers. They don't really want to be your QA department. So all of the people that had access to the beta, they played the level 90 to 100 content. They wanted to see all the new stuff. The people that got on the PTR, they were testing, that stuff's only locked off at the current available level 90 limit, but they only tested the new stuff. So of all the people that they have allowed into the PTR, all of the people that they have given access to the beta, nobody really went out and tested the rest of the content. And it turns out that they, at least for the last week, fundamentally broke a lot of their sub 90 content because they were doing this big stat squish. They were changing the nature of how a lot of the old raids worked. They made it incredibly easy. Not that it was hard already, but they enacted very specific, very targeted buffs to the player when they're in an old raid to just make it trivial. I mean, you could, for example, right now, level 90 player can go into one of the level 85 raids, 25-man heroic version, and just put it to bed all by yourself. And that wasn't really possible before. Mm-hmm. So they just
unless
made
you're
it.
a Death Knight.
Yeah, unless you're a Death Knight. So they made a lot of sweeping changes to how the game worked, but they broke a lot of the lower level content. Even people in full heirloom gear, which is like, it's a special type of gear that a high level player buys and gives to a low level alt of his. And it essentially grows with the player, and it is always the best version of that gear as their level. It's just designed to help them level up. And it's so good that they are essentially unmatched by anything else in the world while wearing that gear. Those characters couldn't even clear basic dungeons. They were getting killed in 1 or 2 shots. The tanks were being killed almost instantly.
And no one tested that.
A few people, but like, does Blizzard care? Blizzard doesn't really care. They don't care. Their fan base is already locked in. Everybody's already bought the expansion. Yeah. People that are playing because they know what they're looking forward to. Mm-hmm. Nobody cares about the low level content. So that was a complete mess. The new character models are like, I mean, it's nice to have higher resolution textures on something that's 10 years old. I know they claimed that they were making the right artistic choices rebuilding these character models, but man, we've been looking at these things for 10 years. This is my guy, right? That little fire plug, chugging run that my dwarf hunter has. I love that. I loved him. I loved the way he moved. I loved everything that he did. I really liked that guy, and that guy's gone now. They changed all the animations to something that I don't much care for. Everything is very rubbery and cartoony and bouncy.
As they were showing things when they showed the Torn, it almost kind of looked cartoonish.
Yeah, which is funny to say about World of Warcraft, which has always been accused of being cartoonish.
Yeah.
But now everything is very. Everything is exaggerated in all the wrong ways. It feels like the things that could be exaggerated or expressed in better ways aren't. A lot of the faces are duplicated. A lot of the skin tones are gone. The hair meshes are all weird. There's odd animation problems. There's a lot of duplicating of meshes and models across multiple characters that didn't used to be there.
For years, Blizzard said they were never going to do this.
Yeah, for years they said they were never going to make pandas.
Well, yeah.
The only way to make sure that Blizzard's actually going to do something is for them to deny it in advance. Yeah. So it's just another one of those examples of assuming that because Blizzard has almost limitless resources, that they really are going to put a significant portion of those resources towards the development of something that people are very sensitive about. And then when they do, you're like, oh yeah, never mind. You're Blizzard. You went halfway on this. You could have, and they've been working on this for years. They've been working on this very specific set of updates for years. My understanding is that all of the in-game cinematics that are based on the new models and everything are much, much nicer now because they completely redid all the animations, all the facial animations and everything. It looks much, much nicer. But I think it's just sort of uncomfortable for a lot of people who had gotten accustomed to what their characters were and had been for a very long time.
Well, hopefully by Christmas, once I resub just to try it out.
Yeah, we'll see. You can disable them. You can click a simple checkbox in the graphics options, give it about a second to reload, and it'll switch back to the old models. But like it's all messed up. Like most of my guys are, I'm goofy, I'm weird, like human males. Like everything that can be a human male is a human male because I really love their stupid John Travolta dance. I really love their stupid jokes. I like them because they're big, stupid oafs, and I think they're hilarious. But like all of the headgear is all messed up because all of like the helmets are twice as big as they're supposed to be, so everybody looks like stupid. It's just there's a lot of stupid stuff in it. It's really ridiculous. And there's obviously angst at a level that can only be generated by people who play World of Warcraft. So there's huge changes to people's classes, the way those classes play, the way healing, for anybody that's been dedicated healer or support class, that stuff is incredibly different now. Works very, very different to what it did before. And people are upset by it. My friends that play are both healers, and they're just like,
I had a thought the other day. Someone was explaining the new system, whatever, and I remember back in the day when you'd have 30 pages of spells, and you'd have like a lower level healing, which would heal less, but it would cost less mana.
Right.
And you'd have like a rank 22, even if your highest was 30, but you'd use 22. That way you could keep healing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's so gone out of the system, which is probably better that they don't have that. But it's just.
And I remember downranking. Mm-hmm. I remember all of that complexity. I remember like crunching the numbers on like Flash Heal rank 6 plus Renew rank 10, and like having to do this stuff and manage your mana. It was incredibly complex. It was incredibly rewarding to get it right, to do your research, to put it into practice in a 40-man raid, and to get it right. But I don't know. It's a weird change right now. I know why they've done some of the things they have. And again, I know it's sacrilegious to be able to do like 25-man raids and stuff solo. It's even worse when you realize that like you're killing the bosses as easy as you'd kill, one of those little like bunny rabbit things that hops around in Elwyn Forest. It's very, very silly. A lot of the new content doesn't look very solid. So I don't know. It's people just generally aren't incredibly happy about it. And all I'm really doing is exploiting my time there to, earn some money, kill time, wait for the expansion to come out.
Yeah.
That's about it. Other than that, I've been playing Tron.
Oh, that's right.
2.0.
Yeah.
I actually played so much more of that than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Once I got all of the mods and everything working.
Once you got all the bugs worked out, I suppose.
Yeah, once I got it working the way I really wanted it to. I thought, well, like, what a nice thing to do. It's like a 10-year separation between the current hot Monolith game and one of my favorite Monolith games of all time.
Which you played some Shadow of Mordor
I've played a few hours of Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah.
Tron's better. It's a better game. It's okay. Shadow of Mordor is okay.
Yeah.
I'm not as big a fan as I was hoping I'd be at this point, but whatever. I'll play a little bit more of it and probably feel a little bit better once I do.
Yeah, because really, what have we got next? It's the middle of October.
It's November. It's those 2 weeks in November is what we've got. All of that stuff's going to get dropped on our heads simultaneously.
Things had never changed. We'd have us a Batman game this week.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that. I'm staring off into space because I'm just thinking about what could have been. Anyway. Let's see. We've got more stuff coming up. We don't have any interviews tonight. We had Leonard here for our interview this earlier in the hour. But we got some NPD numbers to go over and some statements people say about those NPD numbers. And I don't know why Proctor said anything at all, but he did. And guess what? It didn't turn out to be true, which is usually the case for him. We got those to go over. And, of course, your phone calls. Give us a call, 334-272-9228. That is 334-272-9228. We will be back with more of In-Game Chat in just a moment. We'll be right back. And welcome back to In-Game Chats for the second hour of the show. Those of you watching on the cam, we're seeing all this stuff going on. During the break, we were talking about Leonard's gaming habits, and then James came back, and him and Nate were talking about mice.
MMO mice.
Yeah, MMO mice.
No, gaming mice in general. It's
Really?
it's a thing, you know. Well, and before the show, we were talking mice and keyboards, and it's an interesting. I don't know how to analog it for somebody that's only a console gamer. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like I guess there's off-brand things of controllers.
Mad Cats.
Oh, for me, I use XPlayer and all that stuff. I hook up my Xbox controller to it.
Yeah.
I tell it which buttons that I want to be where, and I do my thing and all that. A lot of times it works pretty good, but some games, they just like, nope, you're not using that program. We don't care. But other ones, it's for me as a console gamer, like you were saying, gamer going into PC gaming. It's going that little move over like that. It's getting good, but I am starting to slowly yet surely. Okay, there's my keyboard. Here's my mouse. Let me try to do this.
It's so incredibly different. Every element of PC gaming is about. It's about part picking. It's about understanding like the nature of every individual component. It's about fully customizing your interface. It's not. To be entirely fair, I don't think that there should ever really be analog discussions between the PC and consoles. I really don't think we should try to talk about them in the same way that we do comparisons between like Xbox and PS4 versions of games. Like the PC is it really is like its own complete universe. And it's a place where you can obsess over exactly what sort of depression physics and mechanics are in the switches on your keyboard. And again, I know that people get fairly competitive and do an awful lot of controller modding and input modifications and stuff at the competitive level in consoles. But even at its most extreme, at its most incredible, it doesn't really match the array of options you have for your PC. So
with console, pro gamers, the main two things you need is your type of controller that fits you, and headsets.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much all you need.
Right.
Yeah, fighting game tournaments, all the custom joysticks that I see for those for final round, TFC, Evo, all that stuff. The most core things we work on is going to be the controller more than anything else.
I mean, I don't mean to minimize that at all. It's just
that's all you need.
It's really all you need. And it's interesting because we were talking about you and I have the same. You and I have the same mouse. It's the original
Naga,
the original Razer Naga, and it's not the best FPS mouse. It's not the best action mouse. It's one of those that has like 12 or 14 buttons.
12. Well,
12
thumb buttons.
12 thumb buttons on the side that are designed to sort of emulate your keypad on your controller and just give you quick access to things. And I really don't ever rely on it. I just like, in general, I've really grown to like the overall shape of the mouse. And it's got one of the things about it that makes it so very important to me is it's got different DPI settings in the software, right? So you set your sensitivity on Windows to be whatever you want your mouse sensitivity to be, and then on the fly, up by your finger on the left mouse button, it's got these two little buttons that increase or decrease the DPI sensitivity of the mouse, and so you can, as an example, in a first-person shooter, you can be at a higher sensitivity for run and gun. And then if you pull up a sniper rifle or something, I can just kind of reach my finger over and double-click a couple times, drop the sensitivity way, way, way down. So that way, my crosshairs aren't quite as twitchy, and I can make bigger movements without adjusting my field of view that much. Or when you hop into a vehicle or something like that and you want to lower or increase your sensitivity to match, it's really like a dynamic kind of thing to have. And there are plenty better mouse out there. And that one in particular is getting kind of old. I've already had to replace parts on it.
Next week, I'll bring you my G600 mouse and let you try it.
That would be nice. It's one of the worst parts about... I can read 100 recommendations on Newegg or Amazon.
I know.
I can go on Gaff. I can even talk to people on Twitch. I can go anywhere I want to go. But until you've had it in your hand, right? Because there are half a dozen different real styles of mouse gripping. I'm a claw guy. I'm all like, get the heel of my hand planted on the desk and then just move the mouse. High sensitivity, just kind of twitch it with my fingers a little bit. So it's all very, very different. But it's always incredibly fun to sit down and talk hardware shop with somebody about PC stuff, because what your interface is you're never going to find that anywhere else. No one anywhere else is going to use a configuration quite like yours. When you're a PC gamer, you really are, in your way, uniquely a PC gamer. You know, it's really fascinating, you know, and it's not about elevating yourself above anybody else, because sometimes I get up from the PC and I go and become a console gamer.
You mean
but
PC Master Race.
Yeah, I know. We don't mean it when we say that. I mean, we really do, but we don't want you to think we really mean it. We want you to think we're joking, because we are, but we're really not. So, that's just really fun. Yeah, so animated sequence of pointing and talking about mice. That's what that was.
Right, yeah. Because he's like, hey, if you ever intend to play WoW, you need to get one of these mice. And I said, I don't ever intend to play WoW.
Yeah.
I said, I gave WoW. I gave my chance at WoW. Maybe I should go back to it.
I love that story.
Yeah.
He ran out of fireballs. I found him. I tried to get him into it. I really tried to get him to play, because this was after City of Heroes was kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
And I tried to get him to play it, and it was like right when they first did the first the guest account or a free trial or something like that,
Yeah.
way back at the end of Classic, or maybe at the beginning of
Where I
PC
didn't
or
actually have to
something.
pay for the game.
Right. And
That's how I got in it.
I found him in a cave in Elwyn Forest, smacking kobolds with his staff. You know, because I was like, you should be a mage, because it's like your blaster. You played a...
Yeah,
what was it was called? Blaster?
I played a blaster, yeah.
in City of Heroes. I was like, you should play mage. It's closest analog to a blaster. And I found him in a cave, just smacking a kobold with his staff. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, you should shoot it with a fireball. You're a mage. You shoot fireballs. He's like, I ran out of fireballs. I'm all out. I was like, that's not possible. You don't run out of fireballs. Are you out of mana? No, you're not out of mana. I can look at you and see you're not out of mana. He's like, fireball was on my action bar. Now it's all gone. I was like, oh, I know what you did. I know what you did. You dragged it off and you did your thing.
AKA clicker.
Yeah, he was being a clicker. But I just thought it was hilarious. And I could feel him through the internet giving up on the game.
Don't feel bad, because when my first class, I played a hunter, and that's when you actually had bullets, and you could run out of bullets. So I ran out of bullets, and I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, so I just went to melee hunter, which was somewhat somewhat of a thing.
It was somewhat of a thing, actually, early on.
Vanilla. So I did that till like 30, and then I stopped playing the hunter. But this guy was like, "What are you doing? Where's your bullets?" I'm like, "I don't know where to buy them. I found some." So
I remember that. That was so. God, was that worse or better?
I don't know.
I mean, really, like help
that's a whole
me
nother show.
like cleanse my memory. I can't tell if it was worse or better, having to carry around an entire bag full of bullets.
But what about carrying poisons?
Carrying your poisons, well, carrying all of your
Picks.
all of your reagents, every buff you did, everything that you did, every fortitude buff, every intellect buff, every blessing as a paladin, every shot fired as a hunter required an item in your bag. Everything required something.
I mean, it would be the point where, like, if you were raiding as a hunter, you couldn't carry gear because you needed all the bag space for your bullets. Like, you needed about 5,000 shots.
Yeah, you would just fill your bags up with bullets, and you would send somebody back in a portal to go shopping for everybody. Like somebody would make like a reagent run, because you'd be in the middle of Molten Core or Blackwing Lair or something like that. This is back when travel was
A pain.
Total pain. It was relatively expensive. It took forever. So like one guy would go back to town, and like everybody would be piling orders on. Is it pick me up some candles like for my buffs, and like pick me up some marks, and pick me up some whatever those things were that the paladins used.
The A&K or the Onk.
The Onks.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, they did, didn't they?
For reviving.
Um,
But this brings up something. You know, you would think
shamans.
Bungie would have
Horde
learned.
paladins.
I mean, I know why Bungie does it, but, you know, this is something that MMOs tried to get away with, yet with Destiny, you have to go back to the, the city to, like, check your rep, check all that. It's just kind of like, you know, most people have learned to, you know, that's a pain.
Right. The arduous nature of that kind of thing mattered an awful lot when the overall nature of the game was about dealing with those kind of obstacles. Like those things were a designed obstacle. You didn't go back to town because there was some sort of shortcoming in the game's design. You could feel that you were being punished for merely being alive and playing the game. But that was part of it. That was part of it, is being able to work through that, either individually or as a group or something.
BGC Monte Cristo in the chat room says, do you really use the 1600 thumb buttons, and how long is the learning curve?
I do not.
Yeah, but you do.
I only use a
big on
few.
I use at least depending what game it is, I can use
Yeah.
from 24 to 36.
I know plenty of people who use all of them
Yeah.
and can essentially play the entire game without a keyboard.
Yeah. All I need is 3 buttons on my keyboard. It's control me besides actually moving
Right.
to a degree. But I map all 12, and then I map those 12 to either control, shift, or alt, and then it
Oh,
maps up
right,
to
for
36.
3 sets.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I can use them all.
I don't do that.
And I use QWERT.
Yeah. Do you use your number row at all?
No.
Really?
That's what the button. That's what the mouse is for.
Oh, okay.
Why do I need that?
I don't know.
I mean, that's what I'm saying,
I am
that's
totally locked in psychologically to having to use my number keys and shift and
I
all
used
modifiers.
to, but that's why I bought the mouse, because I didn't want to do that.
Did you
Yeah,
ever use? Do you ever use that device, whatever it was? I know
Yeah.
you got
No,
for your
no,
birthday.
Yeah.
That hand thing. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I
what
have
it's called.
used it. I have used it.
I almost bought that.
Yeah.
Almost bought that.
It's something that your hand can sit on that does movement. It's all in one hand. I think movement.
It's got a whole bunch of individual keys. It's designed that they're all set not to be some variation of your. It's basically designed to be a controller, more or less, and it's supposed to give you all of your critical inputs on a single hand.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 rows of keys, a shift or an alt modifier, a mouse wheel on it, all these other things. But yes,
The
they are.
Nostromo, is that the one you
Yes.
using? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was called.
Yeah, they're fun. I've just much more of a. I like having my hand on the keyboard itself because the keyboard is a communications tool as well as a.
That's why I didn't bite it. And
Right.
If I got it for free, maybe.
It's communications. It's command input. It's, action input. It's all these different things. I'm very much a mouse and keyboard gamer. I don't mind. There's a lot of things I don't mind using a controller for. I certainly couldn't mouse and keyboard something like Elite or Star Citizen, even though a bunch of people seem able to do that. I couldn't do that. That's got to be a joystick and special controllers and stuff like that. But I for the most part, I am very seriously a mouse and keyboard kind of guy. I like it. I don't know that I'll ever be able to break myself of it if ever there is a better way to do it. Because, well, to be fair, for anything movement oriented, the keyboard actually isn't even good,
No.
much less better. There's no analog inputs. It's either go or stop,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's about it. And for anything even remotely modern, that doesn't work terribly well. I don't want having to have like a second button for walk or run isn't really very good. But as a whole,
Yeah.
I still much prefer the keyboard.
Well, speaking of the chat room, do a quick chat room roll call while we're at it. AC Wraith is in there. BGC Monte Cristo, who we mentioned. Build 195. Darren Coscorosa. I hope I pronounced that right. Probably not. Lavos is in there. Cali Synth. Kyrie Meglin 73. Medusa's Mirror. Moldtile. And Navid UK. Squish. Hey, Squish. STM Fuller's in there. Stufu. Tactus 59. And Uncle Elias. In the chat room. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out in the chat room. We really, really appreciate it. And thanks for listening as well. NPD numbers got released this week. But before we get to the NPD numbers, just on October 13th, Wedbush Morgan did their predictions.
Right, and by Wedbush Morgan, we
mean Michael
Proctor. Yeah.
We expect Xbox One sales to exceed those of the PS4 for only the second month since launch. They are just a prediction.
Is that the quote?
That is the quote.
Okay.
There is more of the quote. It says, from September 7th through September 13th, Microsoft offered a free game with the purchase of a new Xbox One at participating retailers.
Which was FIFA for Europe, and then America was...
I don't remember. Titanfall. I don't know. I really don't know. That was also the same week that Destiny launched, by the way. They also have an Xbox One bundle with Madden 15.
Okay, I think it was Madden then, the other game.
Yeah. He went on to say, I kind of think that free Destiny on Xbox One will be better than paying for Destiny on PS4.
I mean, objectively,
Yeah.
right? Considering no other things in the world, considering no other elements of the console comparison, I suppose technically you're correct. But
Yeah.
there's an awful lot of perception in there as well. There's an awful lot of other competing titles, both in the past and in the future.
Yeah. Now, the MPD numbers did get released on the 16th of this month, and it looks like Destiny did perform better on Xbox One, but Sony still ended up outselling console-wise. Estimates put the PS4 at around 550,000 units sold in the month of September. Does not show a number for how many Xbox Ones were sold, but it does say that that's 9 months in a row that the PS4 has outsold the Xbox One.
Destiny actually performed better on the Xbox
That is
One.
that's what it's telling me here.
That's very. I mean, not that I particularly care. I actually don't care at all. But that's a little bit surprising based just on I don't know, just on appearances. It seemed
Sony,
like there was an awfully heavy move
I
towards
thought so as well.
the PlayStation 4.
Sony had a Destiny bundle, but the MPD figures do not consider software packed in with a system in their chart.
Okay, well, that's got to be more than just a blip, but
Wait, so it's saying that it sold more on Xbox than it did PlayStation?
Yes, that is correct.
I mean, because I do know a lot of people that got Destiny with the PlayStation, but I know at least 5 people.
Okay.
Again, I don't have.
maybe that makes.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that it disagrees with my personal internal numbers because I don't have any. It just seems like the anecdotal evidence was shifting very much in favor of the PlayStation 4 for Destiny success.
Yeah. I don't have numbers on it. I just know Destiny, the top seller was Xbox One, then it was PS4, then it was 360, and then it was PS3 for the top
whatever.
systems for Destiny.
I mean, that's interesting.
Madden 15 came in at number 2, selling mostly on the 360. In second place on that was the PS4. Xbox One was in last place on Madden NFL. FIFA 15 was in number 3. Super Smash Brothers came in at number 4. Shadow of Mordor came in at number 5. PS4 was the leading platform there. NHL 15 was number 6. PS4 leading platform there. Minecraft was number 7. The 360 was
I'm excited about that. That's another one of those games that I play on a regular basis.
the 360 was the leading platform there, followed by PS3. The Sims 4 came in at number 8. Disney Infinity 2.0 came in at number 9. The 360 was the top seller, PS3, followed by PS3, the Wii U, PS4, and Xbox One. Number 10, Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls, PS4, lead platform there. 360 followed that, PS3, Xbox One, and PC. However, I don't know if MBD counts digital sales.
Yeah, that was going to be the next question.
Right.
Even through the console's storefronts, we know that they don't count Steam sales or Origin sales or any of the online PC digital stuff.
They don't. They also, I remember reading that they do not count the.
Or did they change that? Weren't they going to make some sort of change?
I thought they were.
Wasn't there an effort or an initiative at some level to try to get more accurate numbers now that digital has taken over almost the entirety of PC gaming and is taking over a significant portion of the console gaming? I don't know. It shouldn't even matter.
Let me read to you here.
It shouldn't matter anyway.
It's important to keep in mind that MPD report only represents a fraction of the overall gaming industry. These figures only include new physical games sold at U.S. retailers. That means no used software and no figures on spending for digital or mobile games or in-game purchases.
You know what? We literally have to never talk about the MPD numbers again.
Yeah.
We really should never bring them up. Maybe as a point of curiosity or a point of comparison for hardware.
Any time to prove packed or wrong.
Right. For hardware sales.
Well, it just seems like there's a lot of missing numbers.
It's not only incomplete, but it's not even sampling a certain type of buyer. It's not even accurately representing a certain disposition at retail. We should never talk about it again. Yeah. It's obviously
Let's take a vote on this now.
A completely good for starting fights, I guess, would be about all that it is. Because if they're not actually gathering data from all of those different points, if they're specifically not paying attention to bundled software or digital software, what are you going to do?
That's too big.
This was your numbers are not only useless, like they are of no real tangible use whatsoever. They can't even point us in the direction of what to fight about.
Yeah.
So
Squish in the chat room says they didn't count Walmart as a retailer for a while too. Is it?
This is amazing. We've all been hoodwinked into talking about the NPD when they're essentially the most useless organization or their output is completely useless.
It's interesting. I'll relate it in the only way that I know as far as working in radio. When you have Arbitron ratings,
In 2012, they decided to start including Walmart.
that's ridiculous. But the ratings for us here in radio is basically you have 300,000 people in an area, and so they'll send out rating cards to 100,000 of those people, of which 50,000 may send it back, and so your sample of that is like just 50,000 people, but that is so hardwired to be. This is it. We have to live and die by what we get from these 50,000 people who write back and turn in their stuff. And it's a little bit the way MPD is. MPD is very important because for whatever reason, everybody bases it on what they report. I guess maybe they're the only ones out there doing it. I don't know. But everything is based on that. You increase your advertising rates if you're the top selling console, and it's based on those MPD numbers. Or you increase other rates, whatever. You use it to make more money off of. And so when you're not having a good week in your MPD sales, that's bad because advertisers say, well, you're not doing us any good. I want to move over to somebody else. Or games that sell that way as well. That's how it works. And it sucks that they're following that system when they don't look at digital sales. And like you said, they didn't even pick Walmart up until 2012. Yeah. So James is exactly right. We should only use them in rare occurrences to make that statement, or otherwise.
Well, and they're bad sampling.
Yeah.
I guess whatever. That's only half the thing. We really shouldn't. We shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't encourage ourselves or other people to really care too much about how much of a thing sold, how much through which channel, or any of this other stuff. We haven't ever. I'm not saying it is inherently bad. I'm a huge numbers guy. I love looking at statistics and I love trying to draw meaningful information out of data, but data is not information.
Yeah. And
information isn't truth. And we have historically done a very poor job as, I don't know. I know I'm really not supposed to be saying gamers anymore, but whatever. Forget about it. I'm too old to change. As gamers, as people who love games, we're not very good at taking this kind of information and using it for good, right? We have a tendency to use it just to get in fights with one another. We have a tendency to use it just to back up a terribly held position. We want to use any information we can find just to prove that we're right about something that we may be utterly wrong about. It doesn't really matter. We behave badly when we're given the tools to berate each other and misuse one another and make fun of one another and pretend that because, sales went in the direction of a system that I have sworn undying fealty to. Which I've never understood anyway. I've absolutely never understood it. I don't know. They're not good. We should really never bring them up anymore, honestly, if we want to be good people and just talk about video games and be made happier.
For the thing on digital sales, I saw a post in July of last year that they were going to this year, but I can't find anything if they're actually doing it or not.
Well, according to that article, they are not.
But they said that they want to be more transparent, which is why they want to do it.
James is right. We're never going to talk about them again. Agreed. Never talking about them again.
It's good. It's a growing list, by the way. It's very hard to be in the business at all of talking about video games. I know that there are a lot of people out there who are not terribly old, and I'm not about to be ageist on you, but what it meant to be a person who grew up with games 25 years ago is utterly alien to the world we live in now. It was always an immediate and direct sort of social thing, and it was always just talking to other people to share an experience that couldn't be shared in any other way.
Yeah.
The closest thing you would get to the world we live in now is something like the arcade, which doesn't exist in any meaningful form at all. And that was a very specific space full of conflict and confrontation and challenge and victory and defeat and all these other things. But it was, you were there in the flesh, right? You were absolutely there as a real person. And the posturing and the behavior and everything, you could say, translated to a lot of the bad behavior we have now, but it just really, really didn't. It was of a different type of thing. Beyond that, it was like showing up to homeroom every day in junior high and like talking to my best friend about like what I played last night, asking him what he played, and like trying to describe this amazing and revelatory event that happened in whatever Zelda game I happen to be playing at the moment.
It was our water cooler discussion.
Yeah, it was water cooler discussion, but it was always very inclusive.
Oh, very.
It was always the kind of thing that the world at large you didn't want to share with anybody because they had absolutely no respect for
And
you
for the most
being
part,
so
and we
involved in it.
weren't talking about. Did you read about that review? Did you
Yeah.
see the sales numbers of this?
Right.
It wasn't anything. It was basically
There were no personalities.
how far
in
did
video
you get?
gaming.
I got that far.
Yeah.
Oh, so you ran into.
Hey, did you do the thing at the place with the guy? Did you find the
No.
stuff and give it to the dude?
But there was
Yeah.
also no media to talk about that as well.
It was all
no,
there was media, but it was time shifted in the wrong direction for controversy. It was all in print. Every ounce
Print,
of it
yeah.
was in print. So it was always
Well, that's what I mean.
at
I'm saying
its-
instant media.
right at its best. It was weeks behind whatever there might have been as an issue, and so an issue never had time to become viral. It couldn't be a virulent issue because it was simply in a magazine.
Well, I remember the only way I'd find about new games coming out was my PlayStation Underground magazine
Yeah.
that you got
Yeah.
for free. You know, that was like, oh yes.
And in a lot of ways, it was far, far better then because perception couldn't get terribly far ahead of reality.
true.
You were still, you still owed an awful lot to the people who did the previews and the people who conducted the reviews and who did all this because you couldn't know, right? And they were lying to you back then as well. They were still largely duplicitous and untrustworthy, but in a different kind of way and for slightly different reasons. And I think that has a lot to do with how they're behaving today. They haven't adjusted to the fact that, like, you can't hide this from us. Like, you're not in a world where you can hide this sort of stuff from us. We can see pretty much everything that you can see. And so you can't tell us that it's not there. But back when it was print, they could. And I don't know. That's neither here nor there. It was an entirely different thing once upon a time. We really were not chasing new specs, chasing higher performance, chasing better looking games. That was always real and that was always true. But the social angst of games, and I mean aside from the fact that you were kind of a social outcast if you were obsessive about video games in your teens in particular, and it was always very small and cloistered and separate and apart, and that's how it was. And it's that sort of same anxiety sort of thrust out into the wider social space that's causing problems
Well, we'll
now.
say you make me appreciate the time that I was growing up in high school and stuff, because by then, everyone was pretty much playing games to a degree.
It was
Like-
that thing when that started happening. People of our age, roughly, and older, were sort of flabbergasted. It's like, why is
who
everybody
flipped-
doing this
like
now?
everyone flipped the switch, like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, oh no, it's fine now. Dink, and everybody went out and bought an Xbox. And I was like, hey, whoa, wait a minute now. Let me tell you about the kind of guy I was told I was, because I cared so very much about my Super Nintendo. It was an entirely different and weird thing. And I think in its way, we were not better people, right? If we had been exposed at that point in time to what people are exposed to now, subject to those stresses, yeah, it would have been the same thing, man. I mean, people are always going to get in fights about things, but having a thing that we liked so very much, it could not be. It was insulated from a lot of the conflict that would develop later, and so it remained innocent or unsullied for a relatively long period of time, and it remained kind of hidden. Yeah. There was a point in time when it was perfectly fine. Not only perfectly fine, but a wild success if a game sold 500,000 copies. Oh, are you kidding me? Like, what in the world? Like 500,000 copies? It's brilliant. The dev team was 12 guys anyway. So who cares? It was genius and it was wonderful. And there were nobody to get angry about it, you know? So we weren't driven to even want to talk about things that we didn't know existed. So in its way, I think the best thing we could do for the broader conversation, rather than get wrapped up in certain things that I refuse to mention on the show, we could at least find and add to a list of things that we won't talk about. NPD now being among them.
I will say it's funny. You can basically say it went from being a nerd if you played video games to now it's bro dudes that play the main video games. It's kind of switched.
Yeah, it has shifted a little bit. Yeah, I don't. Not that I can handle it because obviously there's way too much of it. The chat room is not agreeing with everything that I say. This is merely my personal experience and the experience of people around me. I don't necessarily mean that you were an outcast if you liked video games. It was just the nature of
society.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as old as some of the people in there, but I know for a fact that there were an awful lot of people who didn't want to talk to me about the things that I wanted to talk about. And that was not...
It wasn't that they didn't want to, they couldn't because they didn't...
Oh, and there were a lot of them that didn't want to. It was a point of comparison to make you, to show that you were a different person. I'm not trying to say there was any kind of like adversity.
Yeah.
It's not about overcoming adversity or anything like that. It's just about it being...
It's just a different time.
Entirely different. And yes, I know that there were people who were incredibly popular back then. There were people at the top of the game for development. Obviously, when I'm saying there's no personalities, I don't mean that it was literally devoid.
Well, to me, you can make
of name brands.
You can make the same comparison of when someone that plays, let's just say Call of Duty or WoW, versus someone that plays Candy Crush. Those people look down at those people to a degree.
Right.
So I mean, to me, it's just a different thing.
The casual gamers get the...
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's no different.
Right. I don't know. Again, this always happens. Anytime you try to bring up, like, the nature of social change and video gaming or anything else, it always happens because someone else's experience was always very different than yours. I certainly can't apply mine to everybody else, but I can tell you absolutely that it was nothing like what it was now. And I would not trade my own personal experience for anything. As difficult as it could be to find a conversation with someone else who felt the same way I did about things, I would not have it now at all. I liked what I had. I liked it when it was a smaller thing and it was a little more insulated, and all I did was play. I cared less about the performance of what I was playing,
honestly, you could
or
say
how
the same
well
thing
it was
for
doing.
sports.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think you'd have to adjust your timetable a little bit to get to
But still, it's
to
happened.
something.
Not for nothing, but you remind me of the Dana Carvey sketch from Saturday Night Live. We were stumps. And we liked it. We liked it.
But it is always that way,
Isn't it?
right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the thing is. It's always that way, and it's always true. And in its way, it was always better in the past.
You're too young to laugh at that. You don't know that.
No,
Yeah.
I feel you on what you're saying and all that, because like
I question, how old are you?
me, ripe old age of 32.
30. All right, whatever. Ripe old age.
Jumps across the counter, starts choking me, right?
Nah, it's fine. I was just curious. Just was curious. So, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm feeling on what you're saying and all that. That's the reason why me personally, I love buying indie games. These terrible 2D games that nobody else likes playing.
But are they terrible? They're not, are they?
A couple of them that I bought, I'm like, why am I playing this still for like 2 or 3 hours?
I get that.
But those are what I enjoy playing, and it's, like you guys were talking about a second ago, the hot AAA titles that you guys are playing and all stuff, and I'm over here playing like Prison Architect.
Yeah.
For like hours.
It's a great game.
I know, I love it. I'm happy I got it on the Humble Bundle for like $1, so it's like greatest game ever. But yeah, man, I'm feeling you on what you're saying on about.
Uncle Elias in the chat room says, I was in the military in the mid-'80s, and both sports and video games were cool, along with other things. Even clubbers would hang out at the arcades and be very competitive. That's your experience, but that was not
match mine at all.
That was nothing.
I mean, I wasn't that old. I was in junior high in the '80s, but I remember that among a certain type of person, the arcade was very popular. But the arcade only represented a certain type of gameplay. It was not a niche. Obviously, it was the dominant thing.
Yeah.
But it represented either a throwaway type of gameplay, which in its way, I think the arcade for then was a lot of what mobile gaming is now. Right? You could go in there, you could grab a roll of quarters, you could spend it all on Galaga or something like that, and I did that, and I enjoyed it. I really, really did. You could find brief and really impressive cinematic experiences in like the Bluth games, like
Dragon's Lair.
Yeah, Dragon's Lair and stuff like that. Space Ace.
Yeah, Space Ace.
And those were really neat and sort of forward-looking, but still arcadey, and they were ephemeral,
Yeah.
And then there were the people that were into the fighting games, and that was, again, a bit of a different type of thing.
That
it
was a different
culture.
class of player, and I could not socialize with them, not because they wouldn't let me, but because I was like, I just want to see him do his thing. I just want to watch that character do its thing. I couldn't make it actually happen, and God forbid I got up there and actually played against somebody else. It was brutal.
Yeah, our group was all eclectic group. I mean, young, old, whatever race you want to get there, man. But we get together in the arcade and play Marvel Capcom 2, and every weekend or middle of the week when we got older and had to go to work, our lunch break, we gathered the arcade on like a Tuesday somewhere and start playing there for about an hour, hour and a half, and then go back to our jobs or whatever. But yeah,
it was always an after work thing.
Yeah,
for
after
me,
after
once
work.
I started working.
Yeah, it was a big group of people that did our thing, man. And like you said, Scott, if you tried to come in there brand new, there was no mercy in our group. We would do everything and anything to get you.
Yeah, and you guys weren't mean or anything like that.
No.
You honestly were not.
Now the outside person would think that we were mean because of the things we would say to each other. But
Well,
that's
there's that.
Well, that's competition. Look, you do it
Right.
on the sports field or in the arcade. It's the competitive nature, especially around guys around there doing that. They will talk trash, do all types of things like that, get in your head. But mind games, really. Mind games get in your head, mess you up, throw you off your game, and you couldn't execute as well as you used to. You know, that was the type of thing that we did around there. And to the outside, it would look like we were mean and harsh to each other, but not really. That's not really the case.
No.
Somebody in the chat room pointed out, scrolling back somewhere, that at least for them, the video games were okay. They thought the video games were acceptable socially, and it was the pen and paper guys that were the real
Uncle
outcasts.
Elias,
Which I do somewhat agree with. I think there was something.
I could agree with that. I don't remember it. I was not exposed to any of
I
it.
kind of do.
That.
I will say one thing, that video games at the very least, while considered, I mean, you have to imagine what the parents of people like us, when we were young, and again, if you're in the military in the 80s and you are fully your own person, obviously your experience is going to be a little bit different. But if you're a school kid in the 80s, your parents grew up at a time when video games were not even a concept, and they see you slack-jawed, drooling, hunched over, blank-faced, absolutely transported into some other world. It creates an incredible and automatic worry.
Yeah. Or especially when they say it's strictly for and only for children.
Right.
That one.
But whatever else it might have been, it was technological. It was incredibly advanced. It was very forward-looking, and it was fascinating to people of all ages. And the 80s were very much a sparkly, forward-looking, future-oriented time. So you could say that there was at least the sense of adventure and advancement and excitement. And the pen and paper guys didn't have any of that sort of stuff. The pen and paper guys were absolutely the characterization of them, characters of themselves. The thing is, I wished I was one of them. They were all older than me, and I always looked up to them, and I always wanted to be involved in their thing. And every time I tried, I caught a very nasty beating for my efforts, because I was not allowed to be involved with that sort of stuff at all.
Listening to you bring up pen and paper, I played Dungeons and Dragons, and me sitting down and explaining to like non-Dungeons and Dragons players of like, yeah, we went through this, and then our DM said the guy got hit and his head rolled up the stairs and then rolled back down. It is the oddest conversation in the world, or describing some world that our DM came up with, and like, yeah, Ravenloft is the worst place in the world. You never want to go there. And people are like, is that in Detroit?
Yeah, right.
Where is this place? It's up here, man. It's up here.
It's different.
So
I remember. It's not even remotely the same thing, but I remember occasionally standing around in the mall or something when I was like, in my late teens, early 20s, talking about games with people and describing the most horrifying scenarios with probably
the most excited tone.
Yeah, right.
Your typical Mortal Kombat conversation when it first came out.
Right, and you have to imagine the psychology of the people that are maybe walking past you and only catching snippets of your conversations. And not really being able to put them in context.
Yeah.
And I guess that's maybe an awful lot of what it was when we were younger, and video gaming as a thing, right? Whatever else it might have been, however much I might be skewing my state, my perspective might be skewing things. It was a smaller thing. It was more nascent. It was still relatively new. And there was no context for it. The world as a whole, just people who didn't find it interesting, people who weren't exposed to it, they had no context for it. They didn't really have any way to put it next to the rest of their experience and say, oh, I get it. Like, I know what I looked like when I used to play games, right? You don't look like the advertisements, right? You're not making you're not making a war face and like being super aggressive. You don't have some sort of athletic posture. You're not throwing the controller towards the TV. You look like you're plugged into that gooey egg thing in the Matrix that Neo crawled out of. Your body is gone. Your body is done. Your like eyes are drooping. You're probably like sitting there with a stupid look on your face. You're hunched over. You're completely slack because your brain is like going insane. Your brain is going crazy. You're actually exerting an enormous amount of effort. But like, it's not like what a parent or anyone outside of gaming could possibly understand. You look like a ghoul of some sort.
My God, he's on drugs.
Right.
Or something along those
or
lines.
Or something much worse.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. And as
It's
far
kind
I
of
know
how I wonder.
I know it's ridiculous.
It's kind of how I think of how people locally who may have just channel surfed and caught us in mid-conversation about any one thing probably thinks about, what are they? He killed a guy. He just said,
Why
killed a
are you
guy.
talking about that?
And they're excited.
Yeah.
Like I said, a Mortal Kombat conversation. That's exactly what happens. during
Killed a
those.
guy.
Yeah, I
Yeah, but
don't
like
know.
I finally got that move off that I've been trying for months and all that stuff, and finally knocked him into the pit.
Right.
And
Yeah,
then-
exactly.
My goodness, the reaction we had at Montgomery Mall when we first saw a fatality performed. I mean,
Right.
if anyone was walking by, you'd have seen a bunch of teenagers throw their hands up and go, "Woo!"
Yeah, yeah.
when someone's
figured
hit,
it out,
hit-
you know,
yeah,
yeah.
something like
You
that.
got the controller input right.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not lie. There was an awful lot of bloody-minded glee watching it happen, but
Yeah.
like I would never. It's not even worth describing that kind of glee doesn't relate at all to genuine, real suffering. It just really doesn't.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like really the whole point was this is a much better conversation than talking about which system sold more numbers.
Right, of course.
Right? I mean, this is far more germane to the whole to the real issue about sitting around just talking about video games. It was the entire point that any of us would ever seek one another out in the past, whether you did it on a BBS, whether you are young enough to have first done it over Twitter, whether you ran into some guy in the mall or you were walking through the game store or the game section at Toys R Us or something and overheard some dude say a thought that had been in your head plenty of times, right? Because that guy went to the store with his friend, they're talking about it, and you're like, hey, I'm one of you. I've been where you are.
Vice Rosewater, I'm reading some of these experiences. Vice Rosewater in the chat room says, I remember a friend in high school tried to get a D&D lunch game going. The teacher shut it down, calling it devil worship.
Yep.
Medusa's Mirror, my mom grilled me when I told her I was playing D&D. She thought I was going to rob convenience stores thinking it was part of the game.
when I was in high school, luckily for us, we had a pretty cool high school coach, and he was like, I'm going to start this fantasy group and all that stuff. He named it fantasy writing course or something like that. Only thing we did was hang out, play Magic the Gathering, and D&D. That was all we did. And all of us, looking back at all the people I went to high school with, all of us have gone on to a little bit better, bigger things and all that stuff, and haven't robbed convenience stores yet. So I mean, I hate that things like that have gotten those bad reviews, like video games. People just being like, oh, they make you bad, they make you evil.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, good to go.
Look, I've said it a lot. It's not the simplest thing in the world. I will always remember, one of the most important moments that ever happened to me in a video game, and it's the silliest thing in the world, was after work I used to go to the store or go to the arcade in Eastdale Mall here. Mm-hmm. I lived about 30 minutes away.
Eastdale Mall was Aladdin's, right? Eastdale Mall
Is
was
that what
Aladdin's.
Aladdin's.
Montgomery's was Diamond Gems.
Yeah. Eastdale Mall was Aladdin's. I used
Right.
to go in there and I used to put like $3, which was a lot back in 1990 something. And I would play Ridge Racer, the sit down full arcade version of Ridge Racer, and I would just play it. And I was very
I
good
figured
at
you
it.
an Afterburner guy.
I was the Afterburner guy.
In the motion thing that would move in all.
No,
sorts
I
of
don't really
directions.
like that sort of stuff.
I
I think
played
it
that.
really interferes with good gameplay.
I played that.
personally.
Afterburner and Space Harrier was like that too. Yeah.
But I would put several dollars into Ridge Racer, and then I would get done, and that was my few dollars for the day, and I would get in my car, my '76 Camaro, to go home. And I remember very specifically an overpowering urge to drive exactly as I had in Ridge Racer.
Yeah.
Oh, my worst situation with that was burnout. One day when I was driving home, I'm driving down the hallway, and I'm like, how can I make my car jump so I can hit up there, take out all those cars, then follow in this big old thing.
You realize your brain is actually your brain, or at least a part of it, can't really tell the difference. Your brain is solving a problem. It's solving an issue of space and conflict and territory and movement, and it's your job. It's your job as a thoughtful person to put that part of yourself in a place where it's like, no, brain, like, this is something that we did here. That is necessarily not the right context. Yeah. But it's worth noting that, like, the little guys, they don't have that. The kids, they don't have that yet. They don't have that higher order contextualizing stuff, at least not at the level of adulthood. So I don't want to say that, obviously, video games do not make you rob convenience stores. But they are a part of you. They are a part of your experience. And if they didn't have some effect on you, some sort of primal effect on your lizard brain, you wouldn't want to do it. You wouldn't have any interest in it. You go do something else.
I can't tell you how many times I've wanted a Hearthstone in real life.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would rather have mage portals. I would really, really rather have mage portals.
But I'll take a Hearthstone. Because
then I could do that as a job, the same way I used to do it in classic WoW, right? I would stand in Ironforge and be like, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? Yeah, give me 75 silver. I'll send you to Darnassus.
I still say to this day, speaking about driving games, I still challenge anyone to play any music from Outrun or Outrunners, and try not to speed on the way home. You'll be looking at
any of those, man. Burnout was my thing, man. It still is my thing, and so I do have to be careful when getting in a car right after playing that game, because I won't wreck it or anything like that, but I might, just as he said, your brain is. Hit the gas, go.
Yeah, you'll be driving a little bit faster than normal.
It is, and I have to. I realize it not very long after it starts to happen. I'm like, oh, whoa, okay.
Yeah, you realize it's illegal. So
stop doing this. So you do have to make those changes. We did have to take a break, but I'm going to make the break at the top of the hour here, so we can just keep on going because we've only got about 10 minutes left of the show. One of the fun things, of course, that I did in arcades was play pinball, and tomorrow, Silver Ball Sundays, I will be doing that again because I got the South Park tables for Pinball Effects 2. So sometime tomorrow, right here on Twitch, I'll be playing the 2 South Park pinball tables, and hopefully you guys will turn into that pinball. One of my favorite things to do. Haven't done it in a while, so I thought, these new tables came out. I thought, let's do it. Plus, I'm not playing Destiny as much as I used to, so would love to get back into some pinball.
For a 10-year plan, isn't that really short on expectations right now?
I think I think they should never have said 10-year plan.
Nope.
Yeah.
I think that
I don't think anybody should ever say.
I think that about half the things they said, they never should have said. I think it's a good time now to maybe stop
talking.
Well, just okay, I get it. Maybe you spent $500 million. Maybe you didn't spend $500 million. It doesn't really matter now, does it? It honestly doesn't really matter. You've released what you've released. Make good on it. Either make good on your promises, learn to communicate a little bit better. And I don't mean shout noise at us. I mean communicate. And a lot of times, good communication is defined by what you don't say, by what you leave left unsaid. They should have done a whole lot more of that. I don't know. I've played it. I enjoyed it. Certainly, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. But, yeah. I do think that November is going to be a hard time for that game's concurrent player numbers. Really, really hard.
Yeah.
And do we have any idea of pricing for the December DLC yet? I mean, that's just an honest question, considering
you say 30, but we don't know because I don't think there is any pricing for
that's I don't know if they've said anything about that, and that's going to have a huge effect on whether I come back. If it's
it's interesting you mentioned that because the group I was with yesterday, doing the raid with, I was like, what is your, we were talking about schedules and stuff like that, and I was like, and I told them that I'm really, this is all I have left to do is just do this raid, and then I've pretty much done everything in the game. He's like, we're just playing this until COD.
Yeah.
And then when COD comes out, we're going to get our fill of that, and then we'll be done with that for about a month. And then, lo and behold, expansion for Destiny. So we'll jump back into this.
But you never get everybody back for that. It's
Right.
not. But I mean,
Right,
this
right,
isn't.
right.
This isn't the real. This isn't the expansion, right? Because they thought, again, going back to their initial communication, I thought they had like an expansion.
It's not expansion. It's DLC.
And they had like DLC, then expansion, then DLC, then expansion, then sequel. I could be wildly wrong now.
For the
but-
2 expansion passes, it's $35.
Right, but that's the expansions. I thought this actually sat in a completely different category as non-expansion, but
And that's the only thing available right now.
Is it-
It's
is
just
it-
the 2 expansions.
see, I don't even know what we're
come
talking
out,
about.
But they come out at. You have one, which is I think the wolf of whatever.
That's like that. But
comes out.
they call it expansions, but you look at it, and it's DLC.
Well,
really.
no,
it is, yeah.
I mean, again, I apologize if I'm wrong. I thought they had specifically enumerated additional material of which there was DLC and expansions, like proper expansions
I
in
think
the
I know what you're talking
classical
about,
sense.
but I don't think expansions. These are called expansion passes, but these are expansions. But
The
technically
thing in
it's-
December
yes, is technically
is an expansion.
Yes.
I thought that there was supplemental DLC in addition to the expansions, and that's what we were getting in December.
No.
Well, then somebody lied to me. It was
What-
probably
what you saw-
Bungie.
What you saw that leaked video of is what everyone.
Oh, I
believes.
wasn't. Yeah, I'm not even putting this in the context of that information.
Yeah.
That's actually incredibly disappointing then, because I thought we were going to get. My belief had been up until this moment that what we would have seen in December would have been more akin to a content update from WoW, right? Like a major, like in WoW, they don't charge you for a new raid, right? They don't charge you for a lot of those new things. They don't raise your level. They don't do anything like that, but they give you new gear, new areas to explore in terms of group content. And that's what we were going to get in December. And then later, like after a year, there would be a proper expansion. And that would give us a significant increase to levels or something like that. To know that this
I
is
would
their
almost
proper
say, yeah.
expansion,
Yeah.
if that's actually true, is incredibly disappointing because it puts an even
Or it could
tougher
just,
limit on what they're going to have to offer.
Or it could be that they're just using different words.
Right. I mean, that's a problem. That is a huge problem. But again, back to this is merely noise, not communication. So.
Well, we got to go. That is going to do it for us, folks. Thanks, everybody, for joining us in the chat room and everybody listening on the stream and on the radio as well. Thanks to everybody who grabs us each week from iTunes or however you get our show for later use. We really appreciate it. Go to ingamechat.net. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, our forums at colonyofgamers.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're on Steam, we've got a Steam group you can join up with over there and play games with us and other listeners. Thank you, Leonard, for coming in. Best of luck to you next weekend. Give us a call next weekend. Let us know how it goes. Thanks, everybody else. Have a great week. We will see you next Saturday.